Hey everyone, great to see you all. So excited to be here, Be'ez Hashem, in this Hemanti space where I get to talk and you get to join me. So I'm so excited that you're still hanging around with me, Baruch Hashem, uh, because I think that talk is not only if it comes out of my mouth, because we know that a tefillah shebelev. Great to see you too. Thank you so much. Tefillah Shebelev is also the Kavanas Halev is absolutely a part of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu hears. Hashem sees, and Hashem sees us, and He listens to what's inside our hearts. And so, if we're talking emunah to ourselves in our hearts, it's also communication. Of course, tefillah does need to be said out of the mouth. Okay, and the truth is, when we express emunah with our mouths and we hear it and other people hear it, then it has an effect. So I encourage everybody to talk up emunah as well. Don't let me be the only one talking. I love to hear from you all, and I really enjoy it when you also add things that you have to share. So thank you for being here. We're talking about Shabbos Chazon, and so it's always a fascinating phenomenon, Yiddish phenomenon, that no matter what's going on, we have Shabbos. The only one of the Shalosh Regalim that doesn't have a Shabbos is Shavuos, right? That's just a two-day happening. But Pesach and Sukkot both have Shabbos within them, and Hanukkah has Shabbos within it. The 7 days of Sheva Brachos have a Shabbos, and the Havdil, 7 days of mourning, have within it a Shabbos. And no matter what is going on in our lives, there's always Shabbos. And whilst we might think of the week as being Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, and that Shabbos is the beginning and end in every week, really the way that Chazal teach us is that Shabbos gives light and gives hashpah, gives bracha, gives blessing, gives influence to the entire week. So the Shabbos is really the middle of the week. And Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday are still receiving from the previous Shabbos. And Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are greeting the coming Shabbos. And they are getting the light that's beginning to shine from the coming Shabbos. They actually receive influence. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're receiving already the influence from the coming Shabbos. So Shabbos is the makor habracha, is the source of all blessing. Let's understand a little bit about Shabbos. Bein hametzarim hisigua, that this is translated in the Navi Yirmiyahu as they caught her, so all her enemies were able to catch up with Klal Yisrael, Bein Hametzarim, in the space between the narrow places. And this has been understood homiletically to mean that during the 3 weeks between the tragedies of Shvas Av Tammuz and Tisha B'Av, these are the 3 weeks between those times where it's a time of tragedy, time of national tragedy throughout the ages. It doesn't mean that only. Unfortunately, there were so many tragedies in Klal Yisrael that they couldn't only be limited to 3 weeks a year. We wish they could be. There were many tragic times. And yet, these are the times set aside by Chazal for us to witness them, for us to think and focus about the pain. That is what we're supposed to be doing during these times. At other times, it doesn't have to be the focus. At other times, we may need to experience times of pain if a person is in their own personal shiva. But during these times of national tragedy is a time to focus on national tragedy and to be with that pain. And Rav Rasha continues. He says, these 3 weeks of mourning, from the days, again, Shver Sabbatam was when the wall of Yerushalayim was breached, until the Churban, until the actual destruction of Tisha B'Av. He says there is these times are also awesomely available for Klal Yisrael to actually be misig, to achieve here. This is a different translation of the words Bein Hametzarim Hisigua. We can actually, during these times of Bein Hametzarim, during the times between these tragedies, we can actually achieve a closeness to a Kadosh Baruch Hu that is not available during the rest of the year. We can achieve a closeness to the Shekhinah more than during the rest of the months of the year. We can understand this on a very simple level. If tragically, if a dear friend of ours is going through a suffering time, and we show up for that friend, and we go, if it's Shiva, we go to a Shiva. If we are in touch, if we go around and drop off a meal, if we call up and say, how are you doing? If we involve ourselves with this dear friend, there is a connection that can be formed through holding the pain together with a friend that you can't get during the rest of the year when everything is just fine and dandy. There's a depth to a connection that is formed through pain. This is, as I said to so many people during the last few weeks, one of the most frequently asked questions that I get is, can't we grow without pain? Can't there be any spiritual growth? Can't we just, achieve this, be motivated to grow without all of this pain? And Kadosh Baruch Hu set up the world in such a way that the only real motivation that we have to grow and to get out of where we are is if it's too painful to be where we are. So when we have pain, we just look around. We need something. We need a way out. We're always looking and seeking for a way out of the pain when we're in pain. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Shekhinah, as it were, is in pain at this time. B'kol sarosam lo yitzar, in all of the sufferings of Klal Yisrael, Kadosh Baruch Hu has tsar. There is tsar Shechina. In all of our sufferings, He is in pain as well. And so when we're Schiffsfesters, when we're on the boat of suffering together, there is the potential for connection that exists greater than the potential that exists at other times. There's something unique about sharing the pain with another that allows for the potential for closeness. The Maggid Mimeshrit says that it's like a king who has been banished from his place, that while he's out banished and he's out in the fields and he's out away from the palace, so he's out and he's available. And so we can reach him as well. We can petition him and ask him for things. We can request of him things that he can then fulfill for us when he goes back into his palace. And the tefillah that we have right now is Eis Ratzon. It's a time where it has the potential to truly bear fruit because of the power and the intensity of the pain of the time. We can daven for the Tzar Shechina. We can daven that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will return from his goddess. So we're together. Yechezkel Navi had a vision of the Shechina Kadosha leaving the Beis Hamikdash together with Klal Yisrael when they went out into Galus. The Shechina has been dwelling within every single Jew since then. But the feeling is not the same. And the clarity of that indwelling is not the same as what it will be when HaKadosh Baruch Hu returns in all of his splendor to the third Beis Hamikdash. And Yechezkel Navi was also zeicher to a vision of what is going to be at the time of the third Beis Hamikdash, where a Malach came to him and showed him the third Beis Hamikdash, what it's going to be like. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the narrative, he all of a sudden is breathless and speechless as he witnesses the Shechina coming in, rushing into the Beis Hamikdash. And even more than that, he sees the Shekhinah coming to rest on Klal Yisrael. He sees the beauty of the encampments of Klal Yisrael, safe in our land, holy encampments, Torah, mitzvahs, here back in our land. And the visions of Yechezkel and Navi end not with the vision of a Kadosh Baruch Hu coming back into the Beis Hamikdash, as you might have thought. But the Mefarshim explain the Navi's vision ends with the return of a Kadosh Baruch Hu and the Shekhinah to dwell upon Klal Yisrael, upon all the encampments of Klal Yisrael in the land that the Kadosh Baruch Hu has given to us, because that's where Kadosh Baruch Hu truly wants to dwell. The most important dwelling, the most favored dwelling of a Kadosh Baruch Hu is not within the Beis Hamikdash, as precious as that's going to be. Everyone needs a home, but it's within the heart of every single Jew. That's where Kadosh Baruch Hu's main dwelling is going to be. And so now is the time that we can pray for that. Now is the time where we can feel the loss of that, the pain that we don't have it, the pain that all the questions that we have, all the confusion that we have, all of the misunderstanding, that we don't fully understand others, that others don't fully understand us, that there's so much sheker in the world that we see and that we're exposed to, so much pain as a result of that sheker. There's so much exploitation of the innocent and the vulnerable. There's so much suffering. And because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is suffering that pain together with us excruciatingly at this time, the suffering is now, it's like, I've spoken to many parents who have, let's say, a child who's off the derech, and hope they're going to come back soon. But when the child is there, dressed in their peculiar kinds of clothing and doing the things, it's so much more raw and painful than when the child is somewhere else. Yes, we know, and it hurts, but it's a different kind of hurt when we see it right in front of our eyes. And so now is the time where we see it in front of our eyes. Now it happened at this time. And so now it's fresh. And the Shekhinah is in Galus as well. And so we can draw close to the Shekhinah that's in Galus, just as we are in Galus, more than even the greatest, those of Klal Yisrael, have tried all throughout the years. At this time, we can achieve what the greatest in Klal Yisrael were able to achieve. And to ask, and our prayers will be acceptable and desirable before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now is the time to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that the Shekhinah should come back from the Galus. And just like it says in the pasuk, this is a beautiful pshat brought down by Rav Moshe Greenwald. Again, this is all from Rav Asher. Okay, Rav Asher brings down in the name of Rav Moshe Greenwald on the pasuk Aneni be'emes yishecha, which is translated literally as "Answer me with the truth of your rescue, your salvation." He says that, this is Moshe Greenwald, the Chus Rav. Answer me, he says, answer me, Rabbeinu Shel Olam, with my call, with my crying out to you. Ki be'emes, so aneni be'emes yishecha ki be'emes, because when I call to you, yishecha, the Yeshua that I'm asking for is yours. It's yishecha. It's the Yeshua of the Shekhinah that I'm asking for. Answer me, because in truth, it's your Yeshua that I'm asking for. When I ask for the Yeshua, when you answer me, it's your Yeshua, Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's your Yeshua when you answer me. But sarasam leitzar, because in all of the sufferings of Klal Yisrael, the Shekhinah is in pain. And the Yeshua of Klal Yisrael is the Yeshua of Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Yeshua of the Elyonim and the Tachtonim, the Yeshua of all of the worlds together, where Kadosh Baruch Hu will bring us that Yeshua. And so, in the midst of the Yemei Mitzarim, in the midst of these days, where we have the intensity of national awareness, we don't have a Shavua Shechal Boi this year. We don't have a week where Tisha B'Av falls. Tisha B'Av falls right after Shabbos. So it doesn't have the din of Shavua Shechal Boi with all of the particular laws that are relevant to that. But in the middle of Yemei Mitzarim comes Shabbos. Even the day right before Tisha B'Av, which really, according to all of the halachas that we learn, should be the most intense time. And if it was a Shavur Shechal Boy, then the most intense laws of mourning apply during the week, the few days before. And yet this year, it's right after Shabbos. So there is no Shavur Shechal Boy. There's no week where Tisha B'Av falls. And now we have Shabbos. Not only do we have Shabbos, but we know the halacha is that all during the 9 days, we're not allowed to eat meat, we're not allowed to drink wine. Because in the Beis HaMikdash, meat was brought in the korbanos. The wine was brought as a libation. And so we don't want to take those things for ourselves during these 9 days. Zeichet lechurban, as a commemoration of the destruction. And yet, Shabbos, even Shabbos, even right before the fast begins, not after the fast begins. We don't extend Shabbos at the expense of Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av takes away from Shabbos. But for Shabbos until sundown, or till just before sundown, we're allowed to eat meat, we're allowed to drink wine, we're allowed to prepare ourselves for the fast, and we don't take away from the joy of Shabbos. There are stories told of Gedolim throughout the ages who, in different kinds of situations, went into Avelis, that's on Friday or shortly before Shabbos, and how they rose like lions with it to not sink into their mourning on Shabbos, rather waiting until after Shabbos. If this is possible for all of us, everybody, has to examine themselves. We're not expected to be malachim, okay? But this is what our Gedolim exhibited. This is what they were able to do, and this is appropriate. This is proper. This is what Shabbos is. Shabbos is an island of menucha, of simcha, in a sea of mourning. That's what Babash explains it here. And now we have to shake ourselves off for Shabbos. Tomorrow we will shake ourselves off from our mourning, and we will wrap ourselves up in the holiness of Shabbos, and we will arise and wake ourselves up into the indwelling of the Shekhinah, and we will find for ourselves menucha and rest even within the galus that we're in. And just like during the Torah's speaking about the building of the Mishkan, there was a special command, Es Shabsosai Tishveiru, and guard my Shabbos. All of the malachas of how to build the Mishkan and guard my Shabbos. That the putting together of the Mishkan and the building of the Beis HaMikdash, they do not push off Shabbos. We do not continue building through Shabbos, but we stop. No matter what's going on in our lives, Shabbos comes and we stop. Shabbos is more. Shabbos takes over. The essence of what Shabbos is above all of these other activities. And so even in the middle of the holy work of building the Beis HaMikdash, we stop. Shabbos comes and we rest from all malacha. And so it is with the Avelis of the Beis HaMikdash. When the time of Shabbos comes, then Shabbos calls out to us and to all of the mourners of Klal Yisrael. Shake yourselves off from the dust. Get up. And Klal Yisrael gets up from their mourning. They get up from their sitting upon the earth, and they get ready to greet the Shabbos queen. We're allowed to bathe. We're allowed to change our clothing. We're allowed to use new tablecloths, new towels, whatever we need to do to cover Shabbos. We're allowed to do to cover Shabbos. This is the honor of Shabbos, because the Shabbos itself is the Mikdash of the Melech. The Shabbos itself is the place for the Shechina. It's the place in time for the king to dwell. The Shabbos and the Shechina dwell within the people of Klal Yisrael. And so there is no time on Shabbos. That is not the time for Avelis for the Chorban. The Avelis is about the fact that a Kadosh Baruch Hu truly, as he says in another place, about this, says that it can be understood as a chesed, the destruction, because if Klal Yisrael were doing Averas, they were doing abominations in the land. He says it's different if the son of the king or a servant of the king would go against the rulings and the mitzvahs of the king. Interesting. You asked me to start AI companion. I don't know what that means, and I'm not sure if everybody's comfortable with that. So I'm going to deny AI companion, even though you've asked me to do it, because I'm still a little bit anxious about what it does. Okay, so I just don't know what it does. And one time I did start it, and then it joined every meeting. I tried to put it in the waiting room, and then I got questions why did I put it in the waiting room. So I don't know what it does. Until I know what it does and how I can use it, I'm going to just deny it for now. But thank you for asking. Maybe you can send me an email about it, and we can talk about it, and you can tell me why you like it. But in the meantime, I'm just going to stay in my comfort zone about that until I know for sure what it's going to do and how it's going to change my my Zoom algorithms or things like that. Okay. So it's different if a servant of the king goes against the instruction of the king in his palace where he can see, or if he does it far away. And so if Klal Yisrael was going against the mitzvahs of the Kadosh Baruch Hu in the land of Eretz Yisrael, the Kadosh Baruch Hu said it would be so much worse if you stay here. Go away. Do your veras on other lands. Don't do it in the land because the consequences would be worse. So Kadosh Baruch Hu saved us, as it were, for the worst consequences. If we weren't prepared to change our ways, Kadosh Baruch Hu sent us so many Nevi'im and said, change, please. I want you to do teshuvah. And Klal Yisrael, we didn't listen. We didn't listen. We kept on going and said, okay, if you're going to keep on living like this, then you're going to have to leave the land because the consequences of doing those things in the land are just so much worse. The land is so holy that it cannot tolerate you doing these things here without there being worse repercussions. So Kadosh Baruch Hu saved Klal Yisrael, took them out of the land. Did they do a full tshuva? Some did, some didn't. Some years were good, some years were worse. Back, there was a rebuilding, there was another destruction. The second Beis HaMikdash was such a sad and sorry comparison to the first Beis HaMikdash. The miracles of the first Beis HaMikdash were not replicated and brought back in the second Beis HaMikdash, even though it was beautiful, but it was nothing like the first Beis HaMikdash of Shlomo Melech. And so even seeing the second Beis HaMikdash was a sad comparison to what had been witnessed in the first. And until we do a full tshuva, we won't be able to come back. We're hoping for a full tshuva. These days are going to lead us into a short break during the rest of Av, and then we're going to go full steam ahead into full teshuva mode in Elul, Be'ezah Hashem, and we'll hope for a full teshuva that will all come back with our full hearts to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we'll all be able to come back to our land. And so the exile, the destruction was in a way a kindness to Klal Yisrael that they would be able to continue to exist, even though they weren't ready to do tshuva, even though they weren't prepared to do tshuva. Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to maintain the relationship above everything else. Having a home in Eretz Yisrael is not the goal. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu's goal in creating Klal Yisrael is to dwell within us. One of the fundamental ideas that we cannot understand is when Chazon tells us, Nis'aveh sheyeloi dira b'tachtonim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu desired that he have a dwelling down here in this world. What does that mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a dwelling place down here. We don't know what that could mean. That why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu desire to dwell down here in this world? We cannot grasp What kind of connection could we possibly have with the desire of a Kadosh Baruch Hu to dwell down here in this world? We don't understand. But the as a Shach Zecher Tzadik Livracha said, that the Ikar Hashras Shechina, the main place where the Shechina dwelled, was B'Sech Kol Echad B'Chad Yisrael, within every single one of Klal Yisrael. That's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu desired to dwell. And so if he wasn't within us, the Shechina was already gone from within the hearts of Klal Yisrael, because they weren't doing tshuva. So Hashem said, well, why should I dwell in the house alone if you're not here? And so he let the Shechina left the Beis HaMikdash, the Shechina left the land. Yechezkel Navi saw it leaving, and it accompanied Klal Yisrael out into the Galus, where Kodesh Baruch is still with us in the Galus, and at this time, these weeks, even more intensely present in the Galus. The Galus is felt even more intensely. The connection of Klal Yisrael with Hashem, and on Shabbos, it's as if Kol Malachtecha Asui. It's as if all your work is done. Chazal tell us that Shabbos should be as if everything is done, and that means that it all returns back. Shabbos boy Soshav, it says. Shabbos is the Rashi Tevis, the first letters of Shabbos, boy Tashuv. Shabbos is on Shabbos is the day you return. There's no active tshuva on Shabbos. We don't say al chait on Shabbos, but the essence of Shabbos is return. The essence of Shabbos is the return to the connection with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And the Shechina dwells within us on Shabbos. It's as if all of the work of Teshuvah is done. It's as if all of the work of Avelis is done. There's no connection to all of those things on Shabbos. It's as if everything has gone back to the way that it was, of the connection of the Shechina within us. That's what we can taste on Shabbos. All of this work of bringing us back is already accomplished on Shabbos itself through the essence of what Shabbos is. Shabbos is a gift where we're taken to the palace of the king. It's a day where the king sits together with every single member of Klal Yisrael, where we become royalty on Shabbos. And so there's no need for the Avelis, because all of the reason for all of this is all accomplished with the Shabbos itself. During the 9 days between Rosh Chodesh Av and Tisha B'Av, we don't eat meat, we don't drink wine, because Shabbos itself is Beis HaMikdash. So Shabbos we drink wine, Shabbos we eat meat, because Shabbos itself is just like the Beis HaMikdash. And that is the Beis HaMikdash that is there for us throughout the Galus, wherever we are. We always have access to a Shabbos. It's only a few days away. The 3 days after Shabbos, we can remember the Shabbos that we had. And then from Wednesday on, we could start preparing for the Shabbos that's coming. And just like the Beis HaMikdash stood in the center of the people, and it was the heart of the land during the time when the Beis HaMikdash stood, so also Shabbos stands in the middle of the week, that it receives its sustenance from the Shabbos Kodesh. As it says in the Zohar, the Kadosh, that 6 days of the week are blessed from the holiness of Shabbos Kodesh. So it's appropriate just to focus more on this Shabbos as it comes to us in the middle of the week of mourning, because of the contrast and because of what it teaches us, that we don't negate Shabbos because of the mourning. On the contrary, that we can accomplish on the Shabbos the closest to Hashem, the return to Hashem, the feeling of being the Mikdash, of having the Shechina dwell within us on Shabbos, despite whatever we're doing during the week. And then we'll go back to wherever we were. We'll continue the work during the week, but in a different way, inspired by Shabbos, renewed by the knowledge that we are the Mikdash of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every one of us is the Mikdash of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just as we were on Shabbos, so we will continue to be. And it's the job of every single one of us to bring back the Shekhinah inside ourselves, to know that the Shekhinah is within us. And as in the words of Rabbi Asher, when we say, "Mibesarai echazeh Elokai," from my flesh, I could witness, I could see my God. When a person looks at their hand, and they could ask themselves, how is my hand working? How does my hand function? I certainly don't make it function. I'm not the one that makes my hand work. How do my eyes work? Did I create my eyes? How does my mind work? Did I create my intellect? Did I create the ideas? How does my soul work? Why am I drawn towards spirituality? Why am I drawn towards the mitzvah? Why do I want to learn more? Why do the words of the Torah light my eyes? What is this? Did I create my soul or my mind? I didn't create any of this. And so when we look at ourselves, when we look at the creation of the soul within inside ourselves, we recognize this is Hashem. From this experience, I can say, this is Hashem, it's not me. That's how I can see that Shekhinah is within me, that it's not me, but it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu inside me. And so from the capacity that we have to mourn, but we don't get depressed from the morning, we don't get overcome by the morning. We get up right before Tisha B'Av, and we celebrate Shabbos with all of the trimmings, and we don't take down from Shabbos at all in a public way, in any way on Shabbos. If Tisha B'Av would fall on Shabbos, then there may be some aspects of private money, but Tisha B'Av, Erev Tisha B'Av that falls on Shabbos, we don't take down any of the Oineg Shabbos in any way, and we fulfilled all of the celebration of Shabbos to show that the soul that's inside us, it's not something that is given over to the vicissitudes of whatever's going on, but it's Al Pi Hashem. We go according to the word of Hashem. We get up and celebrate, and according to the word of Hashem, we sit down and mourn. And Kadosh Baruch Hu is the one who gives us the meaning. Kadosh Baruch Hu gives us the strength. Kadosh Baruch Hu will help us to feel and know His dwelling within us. And I'd love to hear from anybody who's on today. All of you ladies who are here and taking your time out to come and share the space with anybody want to agree in the chat, questions or comments. If you want to unmute yourself, I'd love to hear from you. Anybody there? Okay. Well, thank you. I'm so grateful. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, go ahead. I want to hear you. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you. Good before Tisha B'Av. Excellent. What I needed to hear.
I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for speaking up. Shkoyach, I really appreciate hearing from you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here and wishing everybody truly Besaros Tovos. And may we be zoche together to gather around the third Beis Mikdash, and together with the Navi Yechezkel, who will have brought back to life all of the dry bones from all over the world, and we will together witness the Shekhinah coming back into the Beis Mikdash, and even more so, we will witness the Shekhinah coming back and dwelling within each and every one of us. Thank you for joining me. Bye for now.